Well, welcome to our first lesson actually in Ubuntu Server. So you've successfully installed Ubuntu Linux Server, and now we need to log in. So if you'll remember, we created a user account when we installed Ubuntu Server. Go ahead and enter that user account now and hit the Enter key, and you'll be prompted for your password. Now, of course, you should know your password. Make sure that you type your password in, but do notice that you won't see anything happening on the screen. So the cursor doesn't move. You don't see any asterisks or dots or anything like that. And this can freak some people out. They think the server's not receiving their input, but it is. If you type your password incorrectly, you'll be greeted with a screen like this. It tells you the last time that you were logged in, a little bit about system load, memory usage, just the basics of your system. Now, I really want to ease you into the basics of this kind of environment. So in case you've never used a shell environment before, and that's what we're in now, we are in the Born Again shell, also known as Bash. If you're not familiar with a shell-style environment, this can be a little unnerving at first. So I'm going to ease you in with some basic commands so that you can get your bearings, learn a few commands, learn how to do some things, because I don't want to overwhelm you. I want you to learn these basic principles very well. So the first command I'm going to teach you is the ls command. The ls command will list the contents of the current directory. Now currently we're in our home directory. If you ls in your home directory and you're on a clean, just installed copy of Ubuntu Server, you won't see anything. I have a few files here because I've been playing around in the server, but you normally would not see anything. Now let's navigate to a different directory and list the contents there. The second command I'm going to teach you is the cd command, which stands for change directory. You might think of a directory like a folder. As a matter of fact, sometimes I refer to directories as folders, but the proper term would be a directory. Most people are just used to folders from Windows or from Mac OS. But here we're talking in terms of directories, and so the cd command will change the directory. Go ahead and type in cd, then space, and then a /. Now that's going to take you in to the root directory. You'll notice a slight change here in the shell environment. Where it used to say Kodi at testserve : and then the cash sign, it now says Kodi at testserve : and then the cash sign. That's telling us our current directory. The tilde stands for your home directory. It's short for your home directory. And the / is your root directory. So let's ls our root directory and see what we find. Here you'll see several different colors. Ubuntu Server's being very helpful here, letting you know what types of files you have and even a little bit about their permissions. For now, all you need to know is that the blue, or it looks a little bit purple, are telling you that those are folders or directories. Okay, so we can cd into those different directories. Okay, let's go ahead and do that now. Issue the cd command and you can pick a directory. I'm going to choose the etc directory and then hit enter. Now notice that Bash, the Born Again shell, which we're in now, the shell environment, is being very helpful by telling us where we are. Remember, I pointed out that it said Kodi at testserve : when we were in our home directory, because that's the shorthand for our home directory. And then when we entered into the root directory, it simply showed that /, which is telling us we're in the root directory. And now, what does it say? /etc. So it's telling us what directory we're in. So Ubuntu Linux is helping you out here. The server edition of Ubuntu Linux is helping you out here to orient yourself and to know where you are. And of course, once you move into a new directory, you can issue the ls command to list the contents of that directory. Now let's go ahead and cd back into our home directory, and then let's go ahead and list the contents again. just so you get comfortable with that. The next command I'm going to share with you is how you actually create a directory. You'll simply use the make directory command. That's mkdir. You can see it here on the screen. Then a space, and then the name of the directory you would like to create. In this case, I'll call it new directory or new dir. When you're working in Ubuntu Linux server, you need to get used to using shorthand, and you'll start to see these things and understand exactly what they mean. You'll understand that they're using shorthand. If I issue this command, I've just created a new folder, and you can see it right here with that folder, that directory color. Okay, so I've just created a new directory. How would I go about removing a directory? Well, assuming that your directory is empty, and sometimes that's quite an assumption. Usually you're going to create a directory so you can put things in it. But assuming that the directory is empty, you can issue the rmdir, the remove directory command, and then the name of the directory you wish to remove. And now you can see the directory is gone. So if you're removing an empty directory is very easy. But if you have a directory that has anything in it at all, you would need to use a different command. So let's go ahead and make another directory. I'm just going to call it new this time. So I've made the directory new, and you can see it by issuing the ls command. And now let's cd in to that new directory. Okay, so now we're in our new directory, and if we issue ls or list, we don't see anything, right? There's nothing in this directory. It's a completely empty directory right now. Well, what I'm going to do is show you how to create a new file. And in doing that, you'll not only learn how to create a new basic file, but you'll also create a situation where this directory is not empty, and I'll show you how to remove a directory that is not empty. So, we've talked about using ls to list directory contents. We've talked about cd to change directory. I've shown you how to make a directory, and I've shown you how to remove an empty directory. Now we're going to issue or call up a program called Nano, which is a basic Ubuntu server text editor or file editor. You can edit a lot of different file types in Nano. So we'll open up Nano and we'll create a new file. Now you can simply issue Nano by typing Nano and then hitting enter like so. When you do this, you'll see at the top GNU Nano 2.2.6. That's the name of the program and the version number. And then you'll see new buffer. So what we've done is we haven't specified a file name yet, and so we're basically working in a temporary file right now, and we'll get to choose a file name later. Let's go ahead and just type test in here. And then if you'll notice at the bottom of the screen, Nano is telling you how you can get around and do different things within the program. What we want to do now is save this file. So if you look down there, you won't see any save option. Instead, we'll be using the write out option. So we're basically writing this information out to a file. So we use Control and the O key together to write out the file. And now it asks us for a file name. Let's just call this test1.txt. Now you don't have to give it a txt extension, but in this case I want it to be a text document. Okay, so test1.txt and then enter, and you can see it wrote out one line. And now we can close the program. We can exit using Control and X. Now, if we list the contents of this directory, we have a file, test1.txt. Before we move on to removing this file and removing the directory, I want to show you another trick with Nano. From the shell, you can call up Nano and you can go ahead and tell it what file you want to begin working in. In this case, we're going to call up nano and then a space and then test2.txt. That's already created this file, so you can see at the top now GNU Nano 2.2.6 and then file test2.txt. It doesn't say new buffer anymore because we specified a file name. Okay, so let's type a little bit of information in here and let's write it out. Notice that when I write it out now, I've already given it a name and that name remains. However, if I wanted to, I can delete. Okay, but in this case, I want to keep the name test2.txt and hit enter. It wrote out the line, wrote out that file, and now we're going to exit. So let's list the contents of our new directory. Yet again, you'll see we have two files. Okay, now let's remove one of the files. The way that we can do this is with the rm, or remove command. Let's go ahead and remove test1.txt, but we'll leave test2.txt. So we've just removed test1. We can list the contents to see that, so that only test2.txt exists. Now let's move back one directory and learn how to remove a directory that contains files. Okay? So what we'll be doing here is cd space period period. That is going to move us back one directory in the path. So you can see we're no longer in the new directory under our home directory. We're now simply in the home directory, and you can see that with the tilde there. So if we list our contents, we see our new directory. Let's go ahead and try and remove that directory by issuing the remove directory command. There we go. It can't remove it because the directory is not empty. But we can remove that directory. We'll issue the rm command. Let's just try this. Rm new. It can't do it because it's a directory, and rm is used predominantly for files. However, we can actually use the rm command to delete a directory that contains information or contains other files. What we'll do is issue the rm command followed by a hyphen, which gives us an option. And then we'll use a capital R like so. Now, when we list our contents, the new directory is gone. Now, why did this work? Well, let's talk about that option there, and you'll get used to options in Ubuntu Server. They're usually called up in this manner with a hyphen preceding them. What we did is we told rm to remove all files recursively, that's what the R stands for, within the new directory. And so what ended up happening is rm went ahead and removed each file, in this case there was only one file, out of the directory in order to vacate that directory and make it empty. And then we were able to remove that directory because it was empty. So that's how you can remove a directory that is not empty. Be careful with these command line tools. They are so powerful. Suppose that new directory had a lot of information and a lot of files. You would have just deleted all of it by issuing that rm-r, giving the option R for recursive command. You would have deleted it all. So Ubuntu Server has a lot of powerful tools at your disposal. Use that power carefully. So in this lesson, we've learned how to list directory contents. We've learned how to change our directory. We've learned how to make directories. We've learned how we can remove empty directories. We have also talked about creating files using a program called Nano, and I've shown you some options there. You can specify the file name. And we've also used the rm command to remove files, and with the R for the recursive option, we're able to delete directories that actually contain information as well. Those are powerful tools at your disposal. So again, use them carefully and understand that by interacting with the shell, interacting with the computer through the shell, you have a lot of power. You're able to do a lot of things. So for now, practice issuing these commands. Oh, before we go, I just wanted to demonstrate. We already talked about it, but right now you can see that we're in the root directory. I just wanted to show you that tilde is in fact short for the home directory. So from the root directory, if we issue cd and then a tilde, that's going to take us right back to our home directory. In future videos, we're going to be covering more in-depth navigation and ways of getting around an Ubuntu server. But for now, practice these things and use these powerful commands very carefully, especially once you start working in a real server environment where you're working with a company or an organization with sensitive data, or even with your own server that could have pictures and music and other precious data. Make sure that you're careful issuing these commands.